From parody, the moment you become a joke, you lose control forever. And this story isn't about cruelty, it's about collapse. Because when someone spends years screaming about privacy, dignity, and respect, and ends up reduced to latex, felt, and laughter on primetime television, that's not an accident. That's exposure. This wasn't a bad headline, this wasn't a mean tweet, this was the sound of the public finally laughing instead of listening.
Iconic comedy show, the puppet satire Spitting Image was back, but this time he is being mercilessly, ruthlessly mocked.
Seen that video?
No.
Pull that video up, because it's one of my favorites.
All right, I've finished my clippy. Where it says signature, do I put the royal seal?
That's not necessary, Mr. Off Wales. I see here that your previous career was in realty.
Royalty, but it wasn't a career. My wife's got a Netflix empire. Who doesn't?
I'm Megan Sussex, and I'm a good person.
Are you joking?
If I'm going to succeed in America, I need a lifestyle brand of creams and supplements. Gwyneth Paltrow has Goop, Kourtney Kardashian has Poosh, and Jamie Lee Curtis has Poogert. Now I've got mine, Meg Goo, celebrating the sexy earth goddess in all of us.
Megan, off.
Okay, Megs. Go.
That people do with pineapple instead of just cutting it.
Hold it steady, you ginger pots!
Or following Granny's rules. Don't wear your pants on your head, Harry. Don't barf on the butler, Harry. If I want to play polo in my living room, who's gonna stop me?
Stop that.
Right away, Megs.
To make the perfect little bite, you follow the wedge.
I get another lecture from you, I'm gonna go crazy.
Hey, it's the husband formerly known as Prince. Any luck getting a job?
Oh, they had me driving for Uber Eats, but there were too many damn rules. Don't touch the food. Don't taste the food. Drive on the road.
I'm sorry, Rowdy Weddy.
When nature has given you all the cues on how to have a perfect taste of something.
Oh, how fun is that? I love it.
Megan, this new Netflix show I'm producing for you is going to be huge. Tell Eldon all about it.
It's about a beautiful young swan, but no one treats her like the beautiful swan she is until season 2 when everyone apologizes to her.
Oh my gosh, I work so hard.
Shut the fuck up, bitch. You're a fucking idiot.
I don't know, Megs. I've tried every career there is. Prince, Hitler. Maybe I'm just not qualified for anything.
That's not true. You're a great husband, a good-hearted man. You've got big, muscular teeth.
Thanks, Meg. And I guess now I'm qualified for this. Unemployment!
What do you get when someone who built her entire brand on privacy suddenly becomes the main joke in a puppet show watched by millions? You get a moment that says everything. And that right there was the warning shot. Not aimed at a career, aimed at credibility. Because for years, the story was carefully controlled. Every word rehearsed. Every pause polished. Every silence strategic. Privacy, they said, while cameras rolled. Media attacks, they claimed, while interviews stacked up. Victimhood became a brand, and repetition turned contradiction into background noise until it didn't. Because once the audience stops believing the message, they stop caring about the messenger. And when belief dies, mockery replaces outrage. That's the real damage, not criticism, not backlash, becoming a punchline. Once laughter starts, there is no statement strong enough to stop it. And then it happened. Latex faces, felt hands, zero mercy.
Talking to me?
Megan, off.
Don't talk to me like that, you bitch! I'm a fucking duchess!
You get Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Montecito herself, getting absolutely torched on live television. This wasn't fringe humor hiding on the internet. This was mainstream satire stepping into territory journalists tiptoe around, saying out loud what millions whisper privately. No filters, no sympathy, no protection. Years of speeches about privacy, respect, and being misunderstood collapsed into seconds of laughter. And here's the shift no PR team can undo. Criticism can be spun. Headlines can be reframed. But ridicule sticks. Once the audience laughs, they don't stop because you ask nicely. They don't stop because you're offended. They stop only when something funnier comes along. And then came the moment that turned discomfort into devastation.
Hello, followers. You know little old me is a high-profile, high-success global brand creating vulnerable and humble business leader.
You're a lying scumbag piece of
Spitting Image didn't just poke fun at her so-called comeback. It completely wiped it out. Think about that. 8 years of rebuilding, interviews, documentaries, podcasts, speeches, carefully staged silence, all flattened by a puppet with sharper timing. That's not embarrassment, that's annihilation. Because satire only works when it hits something real. And the audience recognized it instantly. The pauses, the tone, the self-importance, not invented, exaggerated, barely. And that's why the laughter was loud. No pity, no discomfort, just recognition. At some point, the comeback stopped feeling inspiring and started feeling rehearsed, predictable, forced. When a felt face steals the spotlight from your carefully planned return, the problem isn't the puppet, it's the performance. And the British comedy machine didn't stop at one sketch. 4 parodies, each sharper, each more ruthless. No build-up, no mercy. The jokes didn't feel playful anymore. They felt like an intervention broadcast in front of millions. And then came the moment that made it undeniable.
I'm meeting another good person.
Meghan off.
If irony were an Olympic sport, she'd already have the gold medal. Social media detonated overnight. One side screamed bullying, the other called it genius. Memes outran explanations, clips replayed on a loop, and beneath all of it, the same whisper kept surfacing. Did they really just say that? The jokes weren't subtle, they were daring a response. And then silence. No statement. No carefully worded denial. No sources close to her. Nothing. And that silence did more damage than any punchline ever could. Because silence here didn't look calm, it looked stunned. When someone who never misses a chance to speak suddenly goes quiet, people don't move on. They lean closer. They replay the clips, they start asking why, and once the internet smells hesitation, it doesn't let go. This wasn't random mockery, this was timing. For 8 years, the comeback was being rehearsed, behind gates, behind curated appearances, every move calculated, the long game. This wasn't disappearance, it was preparation. And now, suddenly, Hollywood again. Not because the audience demanded it, not because the industry begged, but because attention was fading. That's the unspoken truth. Relevance needs oxygen. And just as the return was announced, Britain's most ruthless satire was already waiting, puppets warmed up, knives sharpened. Because in Britain, they don't roll out praise, they roll out spitting image. And instead of applause, the return was greeted with latex, mockery, and laughter so loud it drowned out the press releases. That's when the real show started. 4 clips, 1 duchess, and a narrative that slipped out of her hands in real time. This wasn't a comeback anymore. It was a public autopsy performed by puppets. And the worst part, the jokes didn't feel exaggerated, they felt familiar. They felt like mirrors. And once satire starts sounding identical to the real thing, the illusion doesn't crack, it collapses. Because when comedy explains you faster than your own PR team ever could, the story is no longer yours. And that's where the sketches go from mockery to full exposure, and the consequences start to ripple far beyond laughter. By the time the laughter settled, something far more dangerous had already happened. The audience stopped seeing a duchess, an actress, or even a comeback story. They saw a character. And once the public decides you're a character, not a person, the script is no longer yours. The first sketch made that brutally clear. No warm-up, no gentle framing, a direct hit. Puppet Meghan staring into a mirror, channeling Taxi Driver intensity, talking to herself, hyping herself, convincing herself she's still the star of the story. That mirror wasn't a prop, it was the point. Obsession with image. Control, self-performance, even when no one else is watching. And then the line landed. Not unless my publicist approves it first. That single sentence did more damage than 1,000 think pieces ever could. Because it didn't feel clever, it felt accurate. Years of curated moments, scripted vulnerability, controlled reactions, compressed into one brutal punchline. The laugh didn't come from surprise, it came from recognition. That's when things cross the line from parody into exposure. Because once comedy stops exaggerating and starts summarizing, the image cracks. And then the jokes stacked. The Jaws parody. Puppet Meghan in luxury fishing gear, calmly announcing we're going to need a bigger house. Not about money, about scale. Bigger platform. The bigger spotlight. Bigger ego. And the audience didn't miss the subtext. Living in a multi-million-dollar mansion with more bathrooms than most people have dreams, still framing luxury as necessity, Unrelatable doesn't even begin to cover it. Then came Taken. The dramatic phone call, the serious face, the iconic delivery, promising a very particular set of skills, only for it to collapse into something so trivial it flipped the entire moment into chaos. Writing on bananas, that was the laugh that hurt. Because that wasn't invented. That was history dragged back into the spotlight. A once packaged, heartfelt charity moment reframed into meme legend. Years of PR undone in seconds by perfect comedic timing. That's British satire at its most surgical, not loud, not cruel, just precise. And then came the scene that made even longtime defenders wince. Puppet Harry, clueless, smiling, slightly behind, wandering into frame at exactly the wrong moment. Puppet Meghan snapping instantly, not in rage, but in control panic. Ruin my take again and I will end you. The joke wasn't anger, it was fragility. How brittle the performance becomes when the script is interrupted. How quickly control turns to tension. That's when the laughter shifted. It wasn't just funny anymore, it was uncomfortable. Because it felt like watching something too real. And that's why the clip exploded. Not because they were cruel, because they connected dots people already suspected were there. The entitlement, the exaggeration, the endless self-importance. Each sketch stacked another example. And once satire stacks evidence, the illusion dies. At that point, the audience isn't laughing at a joke, they're laughing at a pattern. That's the danger zone. Because now the internet wasn't asking for privacy. It wanted more clips, more jokes, more moments. The comeback had turned into content. And while memes multiplied, something else happened quietly in the background. Silence, no outrage, no denial, no carefully worded outrage statement. And that silence screamed. In moments like this, silence doesn't look dignified. It looks stunned. Calculated, maybe, but stunned. Especially when the person at the center has never missed a chance to speak before. People leaned in, replay after replay, reaction videos piling up, commentary dissecting every pause. And while the internet laughed, Hollywood watched, quietly, closely, because this wasn't just about jokes, it was about baggage. Producers whispering, casting directors muttering, not about talent, about unpredictability, about walking PR grenades in designer dresses. The kind that looks glamorous until it goes off. Hollywood forgives bad acting, it forgives bad press. What it doesn't forgive is overexposure with nothing new to offer. And right now, the name wasn't trending for projects, it was trending for puppets. That's when the comeback stopped being a comeback at all. It became a cautionary tale. The harder the image had been polished, the funnier it was when it cracked. The more seriously it demanded respect, the louder the laughter became when it didn't get it. Spitting image didn't destroy a reputation, it reflected it. Foam, felt, and flawless sarcasm holding up a mirror so clean it hurt. And here's the brutal truth, beneath all of it, there was no grand comeback to ruin. Only the idea of one. A carefully marketed illusion waiting for applause that never arrived. Instead, it got satire. And satire doesn't negotiate. You can't sue a puppet, you can't cancel a joke, you can't spin laughter. Once the public decides you're entertainment instead of inspiration, the story flips permanently. And that's where this ends, not with tragedy, not with outrage, but with something far worse for a carefully managed persona. Uncontrollable laughter. Because when the audience stops taking you seriously, the crown doesn't matter, the title doesn't matter, and the speeches don't matter. All that's left is the punchline.